Comrades, I'm keeping you long. No delay. Because the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, those of you at home and those of you out in the diaspora, I know that you're waiting. So I'm keeping you waiting long. I will introduce to you tonight the leader, the general, the 5-star general. According to them, you're the world boss. To come and address the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Comrade Ralph, blessed love.
My background.
Tell Friday.
My background.
Tell them what you say.
My background. But I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My background.
Tell Major.
My background.
Go cross the border.
My background. I'm a hard man for dead.
Them a ball outside the house down.
Wait.
And way too far down the left side.
Wide.
If you ask.
What the NDP is interested in is commerce and melee. You could lick me up, you knock me down. I get up back. I'm a hard man for dead.
After this, them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Them dead. After this, them dead. When the bell ring, the whole of them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Them dead. After this, them dead. Yo! Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where I go beat them back. What? The 5-star general of this thing locks up an election. Then we a vote him back. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where I go beat them back.
Comrades and friends of Labour, my beloved people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, at home and abroad, those who are listening in the hospitals and places of care, and the elderly who are in their bedrooms, the children and the young ones who are in the living rooms, or outside, on the veranda, or in the yard, listening to this meeting. I greet you with love. I greet you with a love which is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. 2 weeks or so ago, Luther delivered to us a masterpiece in lyrics and music entitled Ring the Bell, let we send them home.
Ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Now we jump and say 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. They want to know how people have comrades, so 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row.
Since then, the members and supporters of this great party, the Unity Labour Party, have been clamoring for me to ring the bell, to declare the election date, and to ramp home in victory 5 in a row. In response, I have said to our people, on your marks. I will shortly advise our comrades, our supporters, the Labour family, to get set. And when I give that advice, I will request of you to await patiently, soberly and wisely, for the bell ringing injunction to go to the polls. Please do not hurry me yet. I am asking something instead of the Labour family. Be fully prepared. Be fully prepared. As the son of a farmer, as a man who raised cattle and goat myself, as a man who represents a farming community, it ain't long rope that does hang cattle. It's short rope. And the short rope would appear not too long from now. But before I bring out and get ready with the short rope to hang the metaphoric NDP cattle, I am asking the Labour family to be fully prepared. I don't want to hear, now that you are on your marks, I don't want to hear any grumbling about this or that. If in the family of Labour there are issues to be dealt with, and there are always issues to be dealt with, let us get over the democratic imperative of the election. We have a fine record, a splendid record. We act in your interest always. You have trusted us, and you can continue to trust us. So I don't want to hear any grumble. I want you, everyone in the Labour family, young and old, and those in between, to put your shoulder to the wheel and let us deliver a historic licking to these backward people who comprise the leadership of the New Democratic Party.
Voting for Labour. Me and my neighbor. Voting for Labour. Show me your voting finger.
Instead of expressing a frustration about this or that, I want you to do instead, count our blessings. Count your blessings. Because there are many. Because the Labour blessings have touched every single household in this country. The Labour sunshine has been on every household. Labour and NDP and no P. I want us to count our blessings. Count your blessings one by one. And see what Labour under God's guidance has done for you. For all of us. For our nation.
LP, say for always. That's the way it should be.
If you think that you have any challenge now in government, try opposition. The comrade ain't, if you don't do this thing properly, Labour family, the comrade ain't going to be in that office, you know. So that when you have a problem, you ain't going to be able to call me there to solve it, you know. You ain't going to be able to do something which you can do, the only prime minister in the entire world that you could turn up any hour of any day without appointment and say you want to see the comrade. If it's Friday, you got the man them from mainland China and from Switzerland who buying the passport then. And you have to pass through accountants and those who doing financial dealings. And in between, the people who are afraid of us bringing back way. You hear me? And because he wants to drive with a learner's permit, you have got Mitchell there. He had to got, yes, he had to got Leacock there. He got Cummins there. He got Kebakas. You think Kebakas choreographing them for dance? For sport? Yeah? You hear me? I just want to tell you what will happen, you know. And then you will have some people who just want to go on the gravy train. When I send it on by lotto to help with things for your children. It's Key Joseph down there, you know. You hear me? And when I call up Vinlek, no. It's dog in the fritters you're going to get, you know. Yeah? And those of you who know Susan Duggan from country and from Calico and all about, they intend to move she, you know, as Governor General and put a retired priest. I want the Labour family. I want you to hear it. I'm giving you chapter and verse.
If you only go and vote them, believe me, man, you don't care.
So, I'm taking my time and I'm advising you to register to vote. Don't mind if they come like Exeter and want to come in and observe. Don't let them frustrate you. Exeter guy ain't got a right to be there. Tebaka ain't got any right to be in any registration center to observe anything. She doesn't have any local standi because she ain't no candidate. All she's a lady hoping to be a candidate because she ain't nominated yet. You overs where I'm coming from? Don't get frustrated. Go and register to vote.
Come out and vote. Come out and vote. Come out and vote. Don't keep the red ship afloat.
And I don't want to hear any Rastafarian brethren or sister say that Rastafari do amalgamate with politics. Whether you belong to the ancient churchical order of Nyabingi, or you belong to 12 tribe, listen to the words in the book of Chronicles about the prophet, the leader. of one of the tribes of Israel, original tribes, Issachar. You must know the times and you must act accordingly. And after you register, you have to be mobilized and organized to vote for the ULP within your own interests and for love of country. Because what Labour has done, no other political party anywhere in the Caribbean over any period since universal adult suffrage has done what the Unity Labour Party has done to make progress for all the people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
We voting with vengeance this time. Political vengeance this time. We voting with vengeance.
So I want you to do all of that and more for the family of Labour, for yourself. And as I tarry in hopeful expectation for an answer to my solemn plea, speak, Lord, your servant Ralph is listening. I see the stars. I hear the rolling thunder. As I proclaim, how great thou art, let us together lift St. Vincent and Grenadines higher. On August the 18th, I address you at the ULP's first virtual public meeting. In my speech, I traversed summarily the journey of Comrade Ralph, from humble beginnings in Connery to the office of Prime Minister. I stress to you that leadership matters, and I stress it again. I am not running to be leader of the Roman Catholic Church. I am running to be Pope. I am not running to be the Archbishop of Canterbury. I am running to be Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So don't take me on any sideshows. Let us keep our views focused on the main event. So leadership matters. And as Sabi pointed out, when the waves get rough, and they have been rough, and they are currently rough, and they will get rougher for a small island developing state. And as the billows roll, you need a captain who is tried and tested. You need a captain with a plan. You don't need one who requires Son Mitchell to be next to him. Or Bakas. Or Leacock, and God forbid, Daniel Cummins. No. You have to be there in these times. It's not a time for an apprentice seaman. It's for a mature captain. And you have to know that the anchor holds. And you have to have a 5-star general to take you through the rough waters.
No, 5-star general, come ready, 5-star general. 5-star general, come ready, 5-star general. 5-star general, come ready.
In our last virtual meeting, I explored with you 10 foundational elements of the ULP. inclusive of our vision, our philosophy, our economic approach, our economic quest, the central economic outcomes, good governance, the sustainable development goals, our Caribbean civilization, mature regionalism, and an efficacious foreign policy. All these things form the basis for our policies and programs, so that we go forward with crystal clarity and in unity as we have done since 2001. I outlined also last time 7 of the most egregious follies of the opposition, NDP. I sketched for you the last time our impressive record of performance over the last 19 and a half years. And you heard about it again here tonight in detail from the various speakers. And I also elaborated then a bundle of large strategic policies and programs for the immediate future and the medium term, as our comrades did also here tonight. And finally, the last time I urged everyone, and I urge you again tonight, I repeat the urging, to vote the ULP so as to lift SVG higher. If the Labour family goes out to vote, and the ULP young people go out to vote, you register and you go out to vote, the NDP will be badly defeated.
Come out and vote. Come out and vote. Come out and vote. Don't keep the red ship afloat.
This is naturally Labour country. We have made it so over the last 22 years. Only we can defeat ourselves. That is why I say to you, we do everything together. You're on your marks, no distractions, central focus, victory at the polls in accordance with our policies. Tonight, I will retrace some of my reflections about four or so weeks ago. But I shall do more in advancing the case, the unanswerable case for the ULP's election to a 5th consecutive term in office. Nowhere at all that anybody can come objectively and rebut or answer the case that we make for re-election. We have a splendid record. We have excellent candidates. We have fantastic policies and programs. We have the history, the experience, the leadership. And we are in communion with the people. We know them, we know you, and you know us. Our strengths and our weaknesses, our possibilities and our limitations. I shall build upon what the 4 excellent speeches delivered here tonight by my dear comrades, the humble African, Frederick Augustus Stevenson, Jimmy Prince, Debbie Charles, and Sabi. And of course, the inspiring interventions of our chairman, Comrade Edwin Snag. I want those who are at home, wherever you are, who are listening or viewing, I want at this outset to emphasize that at first here, the accomplishment and consolidation which we are currently broadening and deepening our strategic mission. And that strategic mission has been the transformation of a vulnerable, colonial, monocrop economy and society, its people mired substantially in indigence and undernourishment, with a low level of living and very limited educational opportunities, to transform that which we met in 2001 into a more resilient, modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy of highly improved standards of life and living, featuring, among other things, education, training, science, and technology as central to the production apparatuses in the age of modern globalization. This is a strategic mission. This has nothing to do with opportunistic, tactical maneuvers of selling passport and selling citizenship. Our sacraments of nationhood, they want to sell them and bring criminals and vagabonds to this land. And for their hangers-on, some lawyers and some accountants and some other intermediaries go into the trough. That's what they want to do. Just like when you have bohag and sow lining up with half-boiled breadfruit and banana and grindy and dashing and fighting. That's why it's ahead, you know. I call it, notice what I'm talking about. First, our strategic mission, which we have largely accomplished in making this economic and social transformation. That was the discussion here tonight with everybody who spoke. And it's there before everybody's eyes. You can see it, what they're offering as an alternative is a mirage. Mirage is for carnival. This opportunistic tactical maneuver which they are linking to abandoning Taiwan because some mainland Chinese with a firm in Hong Kong and some Europeans with a firm in Switzerland want to purchase the sacraments of our nation. In the same way that communion initiated at the Lord's Supper is a spiritual sacrament, our citizenship and our passports are sacraments of nationhood, and they are not commodities for sale. We have to understand how this transformation has come about. what existed for over 200 years from the time Britain's colonial occupation of this country started in 1763 to the late 1990s. The economy and society in our country, they were dominated at different times by one major agricultural crop or another: sugar, cotton, arrowroot, or bananas. And each of those crops in their dominance over that 200 plus years was supported by colonial trade preferences in the marketplace externally and or by subsidies internally. What it took to upend that colonial economy which has existed in one way or the other from 1763 to the late 1990s was Britain's entry into the European single market in 1993, which entry heralded first the diminution and then the cessation of the trade preferences for bananas. So by 2001, for all practical purposes, the banana industry was on its knees. Cheaper bananas from elsewhere in the British market occasioned the demise of the banana industry in Jamaica and the Windward Islands, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In 1992, this country exported 80,000 tons of bananas approximately at a value of $120 million. By 2000, the year 2000, exports to Britain had fallen to under 20,000 tons at a total value of under 20 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. As the trade preferences declined, so too the exports to the United Kingdom, until there were practically no banana exports in the open, competitive market. I saw this very early, you know. Snaggy, in 1989, I wrote a pamphlet entitled Banana in Trouble, Its Past, Its Present, and Its Future. James Mitchell here and John Compton in St. Lucia say I was a prophet of doom and gloom. They say that the British had given them assurances that everything would be all right in the morning. My riposte to them was, are those assurances bankable? Nobody ever answered. The comrade proved to be right. The transformation of the economy and society from one dominated by bananas with trade preferences to a more competitive, diversified one in which tourism and other services had a central place required at least 5 bundles of investment to effect the initial push towards transformation. The first, we had to have an education revolution. You can't have a new economy and you can't have a post-colonial economy of diversified products, including services and tourism being one of the central ones, without you have an education revolution. Secondly, you had to have a many-sided war on poverty, as the humble African pointed out. Thirdly, You had to build a bridge over the Rabuka River. You know why that was important? A significant part of our country was effectively cut off from the rest. And if you had to modernize and make the economy competitive, and you have to integrate the society in its transformation, you have to bring everybody together. Then you had to build a jet airport in Canawan because of the importance of tourism in the southern part of the Grenadines. Also in the northern, but very much you needed a jet airport there. And you needed an international airport on St. Vincent. Those are the 5 things you had to start with.
Gonsalves, I salute you. You're my hero, my role model.
And I want the youngsters to bear with me, because sometimes when they see this transformation in the economy and the society, they come and they meet it and they take it for granted. But the NDP was not capable of conceptualizing and delivering on any of them. When Mitchell wrote in his book that his major regret, or one of his major regrets, was not to have airport development on St. Vincent, what he's basically saying, he did not prioritize the transformation of the economy and the society from a colonial one to a post-colonial one. You know why? He has his head so stuffed high up under colonialism and the Queen and the British system. That's why in the last referendum, he led the fight to keep the Queen. I don't have anything against the Queen personally. But what a thing Barbados, Little England, going ahead of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The land of Chateaubriand and Du Valley. Instead of conceptualizing, identifying and implementing at least those 5 major transformative initiatives, I'll repeat them. The education revolution, the Rabuka Bridge, the war on poverty, the jet airport in Canawan, and the Argyle International Airport. And in each of them, once you did each of them, other things followed in their train. But you know what they did? And I hear Mitchell saying that now that the man who lose 4 times, Eustace, is out, he's in. Well, come in. Come in now, come in. Come in. You have a lot of questions to answer about Atley Hall. You have a lot of questions to answer about what happened with the Union Island project, with the same ruler and Valdataro. You got plenty of things to answer, you know. Come in if you want. I don't know if the NDP is so desperate to bring him back. For him to be backseat driving or tutoring Friday. Come back.
Breaking news. Breaking news. Vincent Chan said the NDP they're going to refuse. Oh, breaking news.
Instead of doing any of those things, what did the NDP do? They said we must have offshore financial services. Well, the offshore financial services They didn't even read the ball game. They brought it back in such a manner and gave it not confidentiality but secrecy, that by the year 2000, they were put on an FATF blacklist and other blacklists, lost corresponding banking relations with the Bank of America, with the National Commercial Bank in December 2000, threatening to turn the National Commercial Bank without corresponding banking relation into a penny bank. The pincer movement of the Americans and the Europeans, orchestrating with their own self-interest, harmful tax regimes, they say, money laundering, the issue of terrorism, of financing. And they brought this thing to a crushing halt. Again, not well thought out, flim-flam, quick buck, hapsy-scrapsy. And then, comrades, they are people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That is the same kind of thinking about selling the sacraments of nationhood, the passport and the citizenship, which will get us in the same problem, except for some middlemen making some quick buck. And the odd man who may have some shares in an island which is not yet inhabited, to parcel it up as part of citizenship by investment, selling passport. After we work so hard to bring the passport, that beautiful passport which we have, which is so highly respected all over the world.
All who destroying for personal gains, causing this country so much grief and pain.
I tell the young people, I tell all persons in this country, history repeats itself. First, as tragedy, with the secrecy arrangements for offshore finance. Repeats itself first as tragedy, and then now, with selling the sacraments of nationhood. That's the plan. Repeats itself as farce, F-A-R-C-E. Nothing good sustainably can come to the country. You can reject what I say, and you will pay for it. You hear me? So when the ULP was elected to office in March 2001, we set about effecting the transformation, which, as I've said, is still unfolding and consolidating. And we have been doing so, effecting the transformation in a most challenging external environment of deleterious climate change, health pandemics, amidst the turbulence and contradictions in the global economy of monopoly capitalism and the marginalization of small island developing states from the design of the global political economy. Sabi gave a chapter and verse on that. He gave you the details, I'm giving you the conceptual frame. You see how labor does its work? I don't have to compare those notes with Sabi, you know. I don't have to compare them with Debbie, or the humble African, or Jimmy, because we sing from the same song sheet. The investments required to initiate the transformation of the economy were and are huge. The Kanwanjat Airport required nearly $60 million to build. The Argyle International Airport took $750 million to construct. The funding of the ongoing education revolution in the recurrent and capital budgets of the government for the last 20 years thus far costs in excess of $3 billion, or an average of some $150 million a year. And the war on poverty, excluding education, cost billions of dollars since 2001 in the initiatives of social protection, health, housing and lands, national disaster preparedness, physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, ports, sea defense, river defense, water, electricity, telecommunications, citizen security and good governance, targeted strategic interventions in job creation, mentioned set and yes, production supports in agriculture, fisheries, tourism, sports and culture. And the Rabica Bridge was creatively done for $10 million. All of those things where we set about to transform, they criticize. And let us remind everybody, old and young, because I tell you this, you know, the reminders, particularly in the age of social media, is very important. Moses didn't have social media, and he had a problem reminding too. Because he took the people out of Egyptian slavery and captivity. He walked them across the Red Sea. We know this story well in the book of Exodus. He arrived below Mount Sinai. And he went up to the top. It took longer than he should have, that he himself expected. But these things happen. And he's up there so long, according to them. Remember, you know, he bring them out from Egyptian slavery and captivity. Through the Red Sea. Instructed to go to Mount Sinai. Because the God of the valley is the God of the mountain. He went up, and while he's up there, it took a little while, and his Hebrew people were grumbling. You hear me? Why he stay so long up there? Why he stay so long up there? The old man, he was losing it a little bit. As he walk up there with his stick, he looking as though he's a little bit shaky. Yes. A fella done little opportunistic, tactical maneuver. He said, give me your earrings and your necklaces. Lewi, give me the sacraments of your being. All the little things you leave Egypt with. And they constructed a golden calf, which is a mirage, because that can't take you nowhere to the promised land. We're going with that. Ain't taking you nowhere. And when you read the book of Deuteronomy, and you read especially chapter 11, and you read several of the verses, and particular 5 to 7, where it is recounted. And you know what he told them? He said, I want you to tell your children what we did, what this was like. And telling them, I don't want you to tell them what you hear. I don't want you to tell them what to hear. I want you to tell them what you see. You hear me? You hearing me? The evangelist will say, let me hear you say amen now. Let me hear you say amen. In this situation, don't tell me about any golden calf of passport and citizenship selling. No. We have to do it the proper way. We have to do it the sustainable way. The way that we have made it, not with any flim-flam, not with any hopscotch, not with any mirage, not with a carnival band. No. At every turn, the NDP oppose our efforts at transformation. On the Canawan Jet Airport, they said, and Mitchell himself told me on the telephone, he said, Ralph, if I were you, I wouldn't invest the 50-something million there. I would let the developers do it themselves. But the NDP didn't get the vision. We borrowed that money and we paid it off very quickly. Because of that jet airport, over 750 million US dollars, or over 2 billion EC dollars up to 2018 poured into Canawan. For the benefit of the people of Canawan and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On the Argyle International Airport, which cost 750 million. But at the moment, we owe less than 275 million on it, you know. EC dollars, given the extent of grants, soft loans, and debt forgiveness. The NDP said it could never happen. Used to say, get the money from where? And then when we were doing it successfully, they sought to sabotage us at every turn, including Friday himself. And some of them even wished that a tsunami would wash it away. On the education revolution, the NDP formally opposed us in Parliament on it. Denounced our initiative on universal access to secondary education as a dilution of quality education. They say we're watering down the grammar school and high school, when in fact the education revolution and universal secondary education lift them up. Comrade Curtis King was headmaster of the grammar school could tell you the quality of his school and with the intake from persons of all walks of life.
Right now my country making progress, which means the leader is very blessed, who behaving like the power possessed.
They then said,
I believe they want to feather their nest.
they then said, imagine they said in Parliament that the ULP was unbalancing the budget and the country by spending too much on education, including college and university education. On our direct targeted interventions regarding poverty reduction, the NDP said that we were spoiling poor people. They say that poor people are poor because they're lazy. You hear me? They say they're worthless. And we stood up. They say we're giving too many handouts, and we stood up to continue to help the poor and the children. They said that the increase in the number of recipients on public assistance and the increase in the amounts paid to each recipient was wrong-headed and counterproductive. The NDP apparently behave as though they prefer old people to suffer, poor people to suffer, and for them to suffer evermore. Incredibly, the NDP opposed in Parliament the bill to set up the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. And the NDP used to pay periodic visits every time rain come down plenty in the mountain, wishing that Rabaka bridge will wash away during and after its construction. The NDP opposed to our 100% home mortgages to the public servants. They say we'll bust the bank. Right now, since that program was introduced, the National Commercial Bank has given $75 million in loans. And hear me this, the loan portfolio, the mortgage portfolio with the least delinquency is the 100% mortgages.
Is commerce and melee. You could lick me up, you knock me down. I get up back. I'm a hard man for that.
After this, them dead.
They oppose the modern medical diagnostic complex at Georgetown. They oppose the Ecuadorian Army Corps of Engineers coming here to construct for us 4 of the bridges which were destroyed after the Christmas Eve flood disaster in 2013, including the impressive Hope Bridge. They opposed us in our campaign for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. They have opposed us on our demand for reparations for native genocide and the enslavement of Africans. They have opposed us on demanding that the former Guyana government ensure that the votes in the Guyana general elections must be fully and properly counted. And they opposed us on our excellent handling of COVID and its 4 interlocking dimensions of health, the economy, the society, and security. They have opposed us on everything. Everything that is good that we have sought to do for our people and our country. And they have advanced no compelling developmental narrative. Only the opportunistic and unsustainable idea of selling our sacred patrimony, passports and citizenship for a mess of pottage in alliance with some greedy, disreputable Europeans and some criminal hustlers from mainland China. And then they have maligned and conspired against me. In tandem with other anti-national elements and self-serving foreigners and alien entities. They have lied about me, twisted facts to suit their own nefarious purposes, hypocritically assailed me on this or that matter. They have wished the worst for me and my family, and many of them, even some of them whom I went out of my way and helped them, have engendered a hatred against me daily, relentlessly, non-stop. But my back is broad. My back broad.
Tell Friday.
My back I'm an ancient warrior.
My back broad. But I tell you this, I'm an ancient
I'm
warrior.
a hard man for them.
My back broad. I'm a hard man for them.
Them a ball.
My back broad.
Tell Friday.
My back broad.
Tell them what you say.
My back broad. But I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My back broad.
Tell Major.
My back broad.
Go across the border.
My back broad. I'm a hard man for them.
Them a ball outside the house.
Nothing that they can say and do will turn the minds of the vast majority of Vincentians at home and abroad against me. Those who view me favorably, who extol my strengths and possibilities, even amidst my limitations and weaknesses, far exceed the haters and their fellow travelers who have an unfavorable view of me. I will again lead the ULP to victory for a 5th consecutive term. 5 in a row. This man, born with a rebel seed, gifted by God, and who is now a wise and mature rebel against injustice and backwardness, will again lead Labour in triumph. You know, when you look at the record, the Human Development Index for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are assessed as possessing a high level of human development. The economy of this country has increased nominally from $800 million. The GDP, gross domestic product, in 2000, to 2.2 billion in 2019. The average per capita gross domestic product, average per head of population, increased from around $8,000 in 2000 to over $20,000 in 2019. In 2001, according to the census, 35,588 persons were employed. In 2012, 40,821 were employed, 14.7% more than in 2001. And bear in mind that the total population in that period only increased by 969 persons. We still have a big unemployment problem. But in the transformation of the economy and what we have put down, we have increased the number of people working, and we have a platform strategically in this transformation process to get more people working. Were it not for COVID this year, you would have seen already the lift-off in the construction jobs, for instance, in the hotel sector and some of the other capital projects. You know, if you want to look at the NIS, in the year 2000, there were 30,385 active contributors. In 2019, 42,406. These are people who are working and paying NIS, you know. Active. So when they're talking, I'm not talking about any abstract survey, you know. I'm talking about real numbers, you know. Yes, exactly. In this very transformation, in 2001, they left a budget for us with recurrent spending for $305 million. This year, our recurrent budget is $875 million. 187% more than when they left it for us. And every time, every year, they say it's the end of the government. And for 20 years, they're predicting collapse, and it ain't happened yet. The last year of NDP governance in 2000, they spent $35 million on the capital budget. Last year we spent, the preliminary numbers I saw, Camilo may have the later numbers, was $150 million last year in capital spending. The humble African has spoken about poverty and indigence. I don't have to traverse that territory. In 2001, there were 30,558 households, actual houses in the country. In 2012, there was 36,829, 6,241 more. Listen, in housing in this country, over $1.5 billion has been spent in the last 19 years in the public and private sectors on housing. And right now, you have approximately 43,000 houses in this country. Watch all over the country and you see it. As Moses advised those who came out of captivity, don't listen. Use your eyes. Use your eyes. The NIS performance has been exceptional. And I have the data. Don't have the time tonight. Vinlec, 70% of the people had electricity. And the houses were then less. There are now 46,000 accounts. Vinlec, you know, was 30,000 when we came to office. Do you know that we invested in, through Vinlec, $358 million in capital programs over the last 19 years? Including what happened down at Lomans. And the data is there. CWSA, water. In the case of water, the Windward Water Project added 30%. And since then, that was a $23 million project. Since then, we invested another $28 million in water storage. And God just sent the figures for me from CWSA, adding an additional 30% in water supply, meaning that we have now, when it was under 70% in 2001, is 98% plus now for water. The comrade spoke about COVID-19. But I have to remind everybody this. The NDP, they failed the leadership test on COVID. That is recent. You don't have to go far with that. Everything they said they wrong, so much so, they ain't saying one thing about COVID now. They're afraid to talk about COVID like how John be afraid of holy water. Because they realize they're polling it, you know. They're calling people and asking questions, and the answers they get in, they ain't like them. They didn't want school to open for the whole year. Lock it down tight, tight, tight like a drum. Chinese draconian measures, state of emergency. Leacock said, and everybody agreed with him in the NDP, by the end of May, 50,000 people plus would have COVID in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and over 2,000 would be dead. From St. Vincent, in the whole of St. Vincent, persons in St. Vincent, I ain't talking about who come in, of the 64 who have it, who got it, only 4 locally. Everybody else gone for overseas. Nobody gets sick to go to hospital. We built a fantastic isolation center. Quebec, as the great architect said, what kind of thing they have there. Israel Bruce on Friday say, lockdown, Greg's, community spread, false alarm. I don't know. Well, Friday, you know the country. Because Friday don't know. The man would walk to the back of Greg's. You need a whole police force to do that. And when you go to the back of Greg's, if you turn left, you could come down for a month. If you go right, you go Canary Mountain and come over south of us. I know man from Greg's does go mountain in Greg's and come over around 1 o'clock to eat lunch by the woman in south of us. If you know the country and the people, how are you going to lead? And all of COVID, they got wrong. They got it wrong. A failure of leadership. You know, in the various constituencies, and I come back to where I started before I finish. Friday can't even, so weak, he can't even get the selection of a candidate properly in MESPO. I hear my friend Bernard Wiley. He going about, he say he going somewhere, go look for somebody. When he reached there, the woman say, but the fellow who used to support you, who you come for, you know he dead. You hear me? You know? There is not one seat which we have, the 8th, that we could lose. I could tell you that. And I've seen the progress in North Leeward, in South Leeward, in East Kingston, and I've been in those 3 constituencies. And I tell you, once we move like that, Central and West Kingston in play.
Highly rate, you will be highly rate. 5 star, 5 star. Highly rate, you will be highly rate.
I want to say to the people this. If you look at how angry the NDP candidates are, angry. When you're angry, you stir up dissension. You can't have love in you. The way those fellas behave, and ladies, the way they behave, is like they don't mind that St. Vincent like the ashes. And they will be king and queens of the ashes. They want to pull down every single thing in this country. I ask the Labour family to stay firm. Stay firm. Forget this, forget that. You know that we have done well for the country. And we have taken it through some rough periods. Hold it on the path to progress. What is beginning to happen? We see children of persons who are beneficiaries of the education revolution now benefiting. A raccoon crop coming by. I saw it today with those who got scholarships going to Taiwan. On Friday, I want to say to the Labour family, I go to Boston to Eloise will see the doctors. I hope to be back within a week. And then I have to do quarantine. But I will do my work from the hotel and from the residence. You hear me? And wherever I am, I will be in touch. So you're running a virtual campaign on the ground. I have to run a virtual one. Not with you, but away from you for one reason or another. But the time will come when we will be back in harness together.
It's Gomez and Millie.
We have the candidates. We have the vision, the policies, the programs. We have the organization. We have the leadership. And we have the tradition of winning. And for all those who want to throw stones at me, my back broad.
My back broad.
Tell Friday.
My back broad.
Tell them what you say.
I am an ancient warrior.
And I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My back broad.
Tell
And
me.
you can lick me up,
Back broad.
knock me down.
My back broad. I'm a
I will
hard
get
man
up,
for that.
and I'm a hard man for that. I was born with a rebel seed. I am now a wise and mature rebel against injustice and backwardness. Lift that Fiji higher. 5 in a row. And we're going to win it bigger than ever. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
They want to know how people have come right, so 5 in a row. 5 in a row. 5 in a row. Oh, breaking news. Breaking news. Vincent Chan said the NDP they're going to.
Thank you, political leader. People of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, those who are viewing, those who are listening, we want to thank you for your participation by whatever means you would have chosen. We look forward to continuing the service to the people of this great country. And we want a complete hand. We don't want to bend our fingers. We don't want to make it look uneven. So we open a whole hand and we give you a whole hand. I want to see a whole hand. All right, a whole hand. 5 in a row. Yes.